Tea time with Runepest.
Hey, Tempest.
Man, this is some hot tea I got here.
what are you drinking now?
Hot tea? I told you. Man, come on, pay attention. Come on.
You've already pre-teed, so you're good now.
Oh, I really pre-teed. You have no idea. I don't think you can even imagine the amount of pre-tea I had.
I've got a beautiful oolong that I'm drinking today. Are you still drinking Earl Grey?
Yeah, I always drink Earl Grey.
Today we're having a podcast that we weren't planned, and so this is gonna be a lot of fun. But we have a guest. Who's our guest today?
Is it Ejecti?
Not Ejecti.
Is it Logic?
It's not Logic.
Oh man, I don't know. I'll just kind of guess. Maybe Noah. I don't know.
I think you're right. It's Noah.
Oh man, I guessed. It's like I already knew it.
I want to share a quote that you said about Noah before we get him in here. This is a quote you said about a week ago after another one of your quiz times where you might have had a little bit of pre-tea.
Yeah, pre-tea.
And you said, "Whenever I see Noah's face, I can't get mad."
Yeah, that's true.
So we are going to have placeholder art so that I can get mad. Noah looks like a mage. You can't get mad at Noah, so he can't have a cam.
I'm pretty sure Noah has wisdom at 18.
What kind of mage is Noah?
Oh, he's the best mage.
Is he a white mage, a red mage, black mage?
No, it's a Baldur's Gate. He's like a conjurer or something. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna invite the mage on, and he's unfortunately going to have his cam. So you're gonna have to find a way to ask all the hard questions while looking at Noah's face. So
No,
that's
I don't think that's gonna be possible.
Hey guys.
Oh my god, I can
Hey,
see
Noah.
Noah. I see Noah. I can't get mad now. I wanted to be mad.
And
but...
just like that, all of his tea is gonna keep him happy.
Have anybody ever called you a mage before, Noah?
No, mage is a new one.
Well, that seems wrong.
The cat thinks you're more of a druid, so you know.
Yeah, I could shapeshift.
I can see that. He's maybe a druid mage.
All right. No, we're on the same page here. So I think chat's in agreement. Maflaka wins. Give him the giveaway.
I can't agree with chat. I would go with mage.
So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna rant about mage druid stuff. I think what you have to say is probably more reasonable.
Generally, that's the truth. Today we have Noah on because we were supposed to have a patch today. Hopefully we have a patch sometime in the next few days. And we wanted to have Noah on to talk about why this patch. I know Tempest is absolutely in love with this patch, thinks it's the greatest thing ever. I'm actually more in love with this patch than Tempest is. And so I'm interested at this conversation and this chance to get together and get some of the theory behind why some of these changes were actually made, and what you're hoping to accomplish through these changes.
I'm sorry, but you're talking because I was just staring at no. I can't get my eyes.
I got lost in Tempest eyes, so
yeah, it's like sparkling, glimmering. It's amazing.
I'm gonna have to put a post-it note on his face just so I can focus.
No, can I use your picture for my messenger?
You go ahead.
Cool.
If you want nobody to message you back, by all means, take it.
Yeah, he already has nobody messaging him back. So I mean, we talked about Tempest's love life, and
it's going to lead to a long night with a lot of tea, Tempest.
That's obviously false.
If only they could see your ceiling, the women would fall in love. That's
I'm here, and also my ceiling is up there, which is generally a normal place for a ceiling.
It's a good place to keep it.
Yeah, like some people don't keep it up. Those people are crazy.
You won't believe this, but in the States, we do the same thing. I don't know if you can see, but mine's actually up above me as well. So we have a lot in common, Tempest.
Oh my god, we can be like best friends now.
Before we lose all the viewers. Go on. So, Tempest is unhappy about some changes, in particular, the Angel. Tempest thinks all orange cards should be buffed and not nerfed. And he thinks that the Rhinos dislike him and dislike orange. What do you say to those charges, Noah?
Well, I definitely think that maybe it was some Tempest-focused hate. No, so Angel was just one of those things that, like, I think, bias aside, we all kind of can acknowledge that even if this isn't the change some people wanted to see, seeing some change to Angel was kind of something we had to do. And so if this ends up being the change that lands well and puts Angel in a good spot, cool. If not, we can make a pass at it again. Like this was definitely a case of, even if we don't have the exact change we need now, we need some change, because Angel as it was just way too good.
It just won. Yeah, I agree. It just won games. I was proponent of an Angel nerf.
I mean, I'm sold. If Noah says it, I'm sold.
So the idea was not to adjust Angel's health so that it didn't die to as many fields. Like it still had some use. Besides, you actually got to make use of the fact that it is a minion, but not leave behind such a big body. Kind of the same essence of what we ended up doing with Magnus too. That you can still have the value of the wipe as long as what's being left behind isn't as big of a deal to out.
It makes sense to me.
So the Magnus is going to stay at 2 blue, right?
Yes, Magnus is staying at 2 gems.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think it had to be. I mean,
blue. Do you like that if I hide my cam? That's the big question.
Oh wait, I like removed your cam. Now I don't like it.
Okay.
No, I think it's a good change. Like I couldn't really like blue has a lot of high impact cards. But I was generally like talking in my opinion, obviously not runes. That like a lot of colors have a lot of high impact cards, and that's why I generally don't really like orange being tweaked, because I feel like all the other colors have like 15 high impact cards, while orange has like 4 or 5. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely the strongest orange card.
I think it's kind of a balancing thing, that it doesn't have as many immediately high impact things, but what it does have is a lot of value, and also it does a little bit of a lot of things. You know, it's less about having one specific thing that it hones in on and is good at, so much as it is doing a little bit of a lot. And I think that's why you can see it splash so well with so many factions. But the flip side of that is maybe it is lacking in identity because of that, and that's something that I guess to tease a little bit, that's something we'll actually be delving into quite a bit with the next expansion.
You say it's kind of easy to splash, but it is 3 gems, and you kind of...
Well, Angel is, yeah. Angel's not so much easy to splash, and I think that's mostly a good thing.
Yeah,
an effect like that you should have to dedicate to. But the faction as a whole can see play with a lot of faction design.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think it's one of the most splashable colors out there.
Yeah, like you have the Geo decks that top out at like 5, but then you also have OB that can play into like 7, 8 Angel Loop stuff. Yeah, it does a lot of things when coupled with anything else.
Yeah, it's not like yellow. Yellow is like the hardest to splash. Like,
yeah,
purple and orange kind of can make it into decks pretty easily, as long as you're not willing to run like Behemoth or Angel, things like that. But it's just fine. I agree. I think orange actually has a really strong identity. I think that's one of the things I love about orange is it is just so well rounded and has such high value. It has good 1-drops, it has good 2-drops, it has good 3-drops, it has good 4-drops, it has good 5-drops. And after that, it's a little bit less, right? But it just has, the cards offer so much value there. And that's why, I mean, I really am drawn to it. When I think of something like purple has like so many cards that I like look at as broken, but then when you put them all together, like they don't do that much in the same way as like Orange, because Orange just you can fill it out with so many good cards, and it's getting more. Like the fact that like Dune Courser is going to be really good, and
Yeah, it is.
Shadowfar Beast is going to be. I don't even know what's going on with that card, like how that's going to play out. That's a to be determined. Like it just has the 3-drop spot is crazy for Orange right now. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Okay. I have no idea. Like, are we supposed to talk about all the changes or just kind
No,
of?
no, no. What do you want to know?
Oh, yeah, we don't have that much time.
We got
Okay.
Noah here, right?
I am curious though about the Shinobi of Fire. Why would you make the flame scroll cheaper though, or actually do more damage?
So, Shinobi was a case of it is the least played Shinobi. It sees even less play than Shinobi
Well,
of Wind,
I mean,
which is
is
kind of
that
shocking.
even true though? Because that doesn't seem true. Like Shinobi of Smoke should be first, Shinobi of Fire should be second, probably.
That's what I would have thought too, had I not seen the data myself. Like I totally get the skepticism about, hey, maybe it's not, but it actually is. And that's something that holds consistent at each level of play too. That even Shinobi of Wind in high level play is coming in ahead somehow. And I like I don't feel like I see that when I'm playing, but that's what the stats showed, was that it was not only the least played, but also just slightly ahead of Wind in how often it was winning. And
But
it
Wind
was
seems much more reasonable that like people would play it in Bronze, while Shinobi of Fire is generally focused to aggro, and it is playing like Mithril and Champion. So could that be a thing?
it could be. I guess we'll find out as we looked to add damage into that. We looked at doing it in one of two ways. One being adding a second attack point instead of upping the damage of the item itself. But that loaded a bit too much of the additional damage output into the act, because like if you don't get to make the, even with Agile, if you don't get to make the attack, you don't get any damage at all. So doing it with the item was the best way to up that damage without changing the feels bad of when the damage is completely cut off.
But you kind of have to, realize that, mostly when people play Shinobi of Fire, they'll probably get like one or at least one, probably like two, more reasonably 2 or 3 scrolls. So, especially with FS decks.
And it's the best way to put this. It's definitely something that we felt cautious about, was adding damage to it. But like at the end of the day, even if it's only seeing play in these fast decks and it's getting, we'll say it gets in 2 attacks, and then so you have 2 item activations, that's what, 8 damage, and that's going up to 10 damage now is what it would be. And most of those games don't get decided in that 2 damage net. So it's not likely to make it win games it wasn't going to win, but will speed up games it was likely to win.
Okay, then the only question is, do you really want that to be a thing? Well, okay.
I'm excited to see, like, it feels like the Rhinos are pushing cards a little bit here, and I think that's a good thing. I feel like that's something that Magic does really well. Is it when it releases cards or when it makes changes, it always has like, a half dozen of cards that are kind of on the watch list, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna push these cards. These cards might be overtuned, but we kind of want some overtuned cards on the watch list. Is that what's going on here a little bit? Just to kind of shake things up, or what's
kind of?
Yeah.
So one advantage we have that Magic doesn't, just by way of being a physical game, is if we want to push something and we push it a bit too much, like people definitely feel maybe Jade Puma is one that is just too pushed now. If Magic launched a set next week and in it was a Jade Puma equivalent, if it was too good, they would just have to ban it. It's just done. So they have a little bit of caution, even with things that get pushed, to not push them too much. You know, look what happened with Oko.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the advantages of being in the digital space is that if we in a week's time say, oh damn, yeah, Jade Puma was way too buffed, we can scale that back. We can live tune that in minutes. And that does add a little bit of instability, and I get some of the unease about that. But we do think that as a whole, the ability to play with that so quickly and so efficiently lets us take chances on big changes like this and keep things exciting and keep things fun.
Tempest, did you do something to Noah's cam? Is that what's going on? This you?
Yeah, I
Oh.
magically. What?
Tempest had to get mad at me, so he
You
had
tried
to
to
mess
get
up
mad
my
here, so
cam.
you're like, I'm gonna make that camera go off.
He didn't unchange Angel.
And I think that's good. I
You
think
gotta
that's
kill his
really,
cam.
and I think being able to live push things enables that more, right? I mean, now that that feature is in the game where you don't have to patch everything to make changes,
Yeah.
it opens up the possibility of pushing cards and seeing what happens and looking at the data. And I think that's a very good thing.
So
It's
yeah,
true, but like as Noah mentioned, like doing a lot of changes and then reverting them and changing them, you know, keep doing this process over and over is probably not, ideal in a sense.
yeah, and ideally when we make changes on this scope, we don't have so many land so out of line that we have to end up changing back. We made like 120, I think was the amount of changes we made this time. And if we end up having to scale back, like 25 of those, that's a bit high. It shows that we got a little too ambitious.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
if we end up only needing to scale back like Puma and a couple additional things, then I think we've done a good, successful job at infusing a bit of new life into not only the metagame, which we'll see a big shift in, but just playability as a whole. You lose some of the staleness. Like it's not lost on us and on you guys having played CCGs that oftentimes about now the middle point between expansions, things begin to feel like a bit of a slog. That a lot of games do little mini expansions, little 10 to 15 new things added into the set between sets. And so we've decided to do this instead of something like that and just make a big sweeping change as a way to infuse some newness into the game in this point that it's usually going to be at its lowest, simply because people have played with new stuff so long and we begin teasing the next expansion and stuff like that.
I am a bit curious, like when the patch was announced and the changes, I was kind of thinking, assuming there would be like 5 to 9 changes, something on those lines, and then this is like obviously exactly 1 billion changes. But like, how did this come to pass, though?
Okay, so 5 to 9 would be a bit on the small side. Usually with mid-season patches, it's been 20-ish changes. But again, in the past, we didn't have the live tuning system. If we pushed this many changes and some of them fell flat, we would have to take the time to push a whole new patch, which, like, as evidenced by the fact this podcast is going on today because we couldn't go play the patch, you can see that can sometimes lead to too much time spent with something being out of line if we completely missed on something. So I think the idea has always been that with mid-season patches, the scope of change should be somewhat high. and the live balancing tool gave us the confidence to go ahead and expand the scope quite a bit. It could be that we do this and this doesn't go the way we thought it would, and next season's mid-season balance patch is, maybe 50 things changed, maybe 20, like last season's mid-season balance patch was. So it's mostly a test because the confidence a new system gave us to do something like this.
You really had a lot of confidence, though. Like, yeah, how many cards are we gonna change? 5? Nah, more. 10? Nah, more. 20? No, let's do 100.
So a little behind the scenes look, I suppose. When I began making my own list of suggestions to give to the team so we could discuss what we wanted to do with this mid-season change, I made I think it was 28 suggestions I had in a Google Doc. The thought being, well, not all of these will make it in, but if I go a little wide and toss out like 28, then if we get 15 to 20 of those, we got a good sized mid-season patch. I didn't know that the plan was to go quite as wide as we did. So then once the scope changes that much, the amount of change you make to each suggestion has to change too. We can't completely change all of these effects. That's why you see a lot of small stat changes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I think anyone didn't really watch the movie Tropic Thunder, so if you did, you would know. Like, you never go full patch.
What's Tropic Thunder? And
oh man, I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm one that's never seen it nor heard of it, so that's all right.
Can I ask more? Or I mean, I don't know. Rune, am I asking too much?
No. Go for it.
This is fun.
Okay, so I like you mentioned. I'm not sure if you precisely, but there was a mention either way that Herald of too much smoke. Herald of Famine is like too impactful, so that was the reason behind it being changed. But like it seems as the new change is actually a buff to me, because if I had an option of choose, if like you play Herald and you can choose like one of the two abilities, do 3 damage or take 2 damage and banish a card, I would always choose take 2 damage and banish a card.
Yeah. So the idea was definitely to buff Famine, but we wanted to do so in a way that it didn't feel as instantly game deciding when it was played. Like if you didn't slam Famine as soon as you could, Famine's value is just about instantly gone. Famine 6 and beyond is just not going to do anything. But then the games that you do put it down when you should, it felt almost impossible to play against. So we wanted to shift that pain point a little bit in a way that allowed us to actually buff Famine. And it's the same type of change we attempted with Hades, that the change to Hades does allow the double usage of Hades on the same minion, but it shifts the pain point, so it's not you get comboed out the moment you leave one lane open, because you can only double use Hades buff on Hades now. So it was the same philosophy went into the Famine change of tweaking its pain point a little bit to make it a little less painful when played optimally, and use that as a way to buff it so it could see some use beyond its most optimal case.
Okay, that makes sense.
So one of the changes that both me and Tempest are skeptical about, and we're not usually ever in agreement about anything, so this was, always a rare territory here, is these buff to Canines.
Yes, that is a focus.
I just think that Canines need to be a tier D deck at best. Like, it's just not, there's very little interaction you can do. And yet Canines are getting, I think, a series of buffs that are really going to push them into perhaps tier 2, tier 2.5 area, which is a little bit higher, I think, both of us want. We'll even see maybe more. I mean, we'll find out.
2.5-ish feels okay in high level play. Like, I think, especially with going to multi-deck events, like it gives the chance that you see a couple people flexing a Canine deck, and that feels okay. The big cause behind the buff to Canines as a whole is it is one of the most commonly played decks in low level play because it's cheap to build. Even if you don't have Magnus and Hetman and Double Clap, they have so many good value commons and uncommons that it becomes a good deck to build and climb with initially.
Yep.
But that climb steeply falls off once you hit gold. I mean, we see like below gold, Canines tend to be the most played deck while also being a good solid deck to climb with. I think last time I checked, its win stat was at like 52.1. It was a good solid win stat, not out of line by any means, but definitely good to climb with. And then you hit gold and it just plummets. It's the deck doesn't exist beyond gold. And so well, I also myself feel the same as you two that it's not the most fun deck to play against because it's one of those if they have it, they have it, if they don't type decks. The ability to buff them in a way that specifically helps the least played of the canines at the common and uncommon slot should help open that up to maybe a little bit of additional climbing in the gold levels without actually impacting the competitive metagame too much because multi-deck's a thing anyway.
I'll be interested to see. I mean, I think one of the things we haven't, really seen are some of our top level Mythgard players messing around with canines, and so I'm interested to see. Like Valks weren't very good until for a while there, right? Until some of the top level players like messed with Valks, and then like, oh wow, Valks were really good.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if the similar thing is gonna happen, and we're gonna be like, oh wow, now that we see some canine buffs, maybe some of the top level players will do something with it that'll.
I'm reading chat and like I realized the point about the herald that it can be useful for you if you kind of burn a card you don't want and thus spinning the deck, but it seems like mostly
that's still mostly going to be a downside, but it does actually have niche upsides to the opponent that like
it's true, but
it's kind of neat, honestly. I'm a big fan of the change and I'm excited to see how it actually ends up playing out.
I'll admit like it's strategically interesting much more now than it was before, so it's much more fun and strategic, so it's cool, but I still feel like it's generally gonna be better. It's probably I mean the change is cool though. I was just kind of curious about that decision.
Hopefully
the new persist,
hopefully that explanation did what you needed it to.
The new persist and mirror mechanics, I really like them though. Like, whose idea was that?
So that was mostly Fu.
Yeah.
He is kind of a genius when it comes to coming up with new mechanics. It was stuff I was like, man, this is kind of cool. And some of it's stuff we've seen done in games like Echo I think is the name of the mechanic that gets used. But the double casting stuff, it's something we've seen in the past, and it felt like a good place to add some value into somewhat niche spells. So instead of just buffing spells that saw less play because of conditional use, typically if it was in a spot that the conditions would have been met to make good use of that spell, that situation will come up again in that same matchup. But like, you don't want to be playing two copies of Locked in Ice. Anyone who's playing building a deck with Locked in Ice in it is likely, if they play it, playing one of them. But against a deck that Locked in Ice would be good against, you want two of them. And this allowed us to do that with some of these niche conditional activation spells.
Or if you're playing Circle of Protection, you don't want to play one copy of that card.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun to see too. I think it's going to give people a good chance to not only obviously make some advantageous swings, but it has some good defensive uses too, like stopping Angel and Magma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to actually be that's one that I'm excited to see people begin playing with. I think it has a lot of high agency application.
I will definitely try Loki Nice and Circle of Protection from Winds. So
I'm excited for Circle of Protection. I think it will be fun to mess around with. I mean, I'm really hoping that we see some of these witches, cards kind of get some synergy with one another at some point here. Like, I feel like that's one of the underutilized synergies.
No, you made like a huge mistake. Where's your tea? Do you even tea?
I've got tea. Are you kidding? I've been sipping on it.
What? I
Yeah,
didn't.
he's been drinking. You just can't look at his face.
Jeez. You've had too much tea is the issue, Tempest.
Yeah, you've had way too much pre-tea.
Oh man, that's some big tea.
So-
I take back my tea remark.
If you
Yeah,
guys
so
don't
we
mind,
are-
I want to quickly point to
This is why you
question
can't
in
play
chat.
the Noah. Oh, okay, go.
Maflockle asked about the changes to the matchmaking system. That is not happening with this patch. That's actually live now. What we did was we made it so that it takes additional time if you have the match with anyone on. It takes additional time to expand that pool up. So instead of someone in like gold 1 with match with anyone on waiting a minute and a half and matching with like Tempest, they would have to wait, I think it's 5 minutes. I have to double check the total, but we essentially, it won't be as fast to match way too high. So it could lead to queue times going up. Like that's definitely something that's kind of the balancing act with playing with matchmaking, is you want that sweet spot that you don't have new people matching into Tempest and Ejecti and they can match into me. I lost a champion today, so match into me all you want.
I saw that.
So that's
I love how he skipped through. Like, yeah, Tempest, Ejecti. No, didn't say Rune.
No.
Well, anyone who's gonna match into him will like give up eventually anyway. If they don't just fall asleep, they'll eventually scoop.
Which brings me to what I think was tragically missed in this patch, and that's Fires of Creation.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk a little bit with you on what's going on with Fires of Creation here. I feel like this expansion didn't do much to help Fires of Creation. It did quite a bit for a number of other decks with the artifacts, but not much for Fires. I haven't
They
seen
didn't have as much vanilla usage.
FoC's win rate has gone down substantially after expansion.
Has it? Maybe it's just you.
Maybe.
No, it has gone down, and I do think
it's actually not true because Rune stopped playing Fires of Creation.
That's just where I'm at.
It went back up the moment he quit.
That's quite possible. And I think there's lots of reason for that. I mean, right? Champion decks, things like that are what's been tested around and played with, and those have a lower, win rate. There's other reasons too. But we didn't see much in this expansion to help FoC centric decks. I messed around with, like they're saying, Bacon. I tried Beacon Banner a lot, and I still like that.
We gave you Bacon. Come on now.
Yeah, I got Bacon. That's what I got. I got Bacon.
He keeps saying Beacon Banner like you're the only one that plays it.
Who else plays Beacon Banner?
No one.
Hey, I brought it to a tournament. I was first after Swiss with it in my deck. So I don't.
Yeah, you just kind of.
But I didn't see you day 2, so I guess it doesn't count.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I know we got Samusek, and I'm really interested to see Samusek with 6 life if that's going to help in FoC center decks. But other than that, we didn't see much love and help. Maybe the Pursuit will help. I'm kind of uncertain on that. We'll see.
That one I'm excited about. I'm excited to see how that lands.
Yeah, it'll be really fascinating. It's a really hard pursuit to get right.
It is.
I'm glad they're trying to figure that out, and so I'm happy about that. What's the Rhinos conversation? What are y'all talking about with FoC if you're talking about Fires?
Specifically how to make you sad.
That's totally
so that
I
was
do think
after before making Tempest sad. That's like, how do we make Rune sad now?
I do think that the last expansion, like you said, didn't give vanilla FOC value decks so much in the way of help as it gave some specific decks the ability to play FOC instead, which we haven't seen actually happen. So I guess I'll tease a little bit in that the upcoming expansion does have some vanilla usage FOC love in it. And it's not something that has gone unnoticed. But as we looked at buffs this time, outside of Samasek, we didn't see any that we felt we wanted to make changes to at this time.
I wanted to mention, like I almost forgot about it, but Loki's Veil, like I'm not sure if this is true, but it kind of seems
He's like, we're done with
seems,
FOC. We're moving on.
it seems really groundbreaking. Like if it's like a must-have card if you're running blue, or even maybe something else, just kind of splash it in. Like, what's the deal with that?
So Loki's Veil was essentially just, at the moment, it's like some OB list play it, and that's basically all the play it's seeing.
Yeah, but it wasn't changed to what it is now.
So
like if you make a Dora a 7/7, people will play it. Like, well, no one played Dora before.
yeah, but so while I definitely don't think we'll be making a 1-cost 7/7 anytime soon,
but no one plays it.
as cute as it is. The idea behind the Loki's Veil change was playing a little bit with enchantments that don't have to stay occupied. We have a lot of enchantments that only apply while occupied, and that was a side effect of some changes made in Alpha that we kind of want to look at walking back a little bit, adding some usability into those enchantments. And maybe the call is to find a way to allow that use case while still incentivizing active play to the lane. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on closely with Loki's Veil, especially. I do think that it's obviously going to be good and it's going to see play, but we did also buff a lot of enchantment hate. So even if the buffs that they got don't specifically buff how they deal with enchantments, the minions themselves do have some added value, and spells too do have some added value in dealing with those enchantments.
So just to be sure, we're not going to see a 7/7 Dora.
No,
Sadly not. I don't think I could sneak that one past Fu.
Yeah. So going back to FOC, was there any discussion of a Saboteur nerf?
Oh my god, no one plays that card. It's like, why don't we nerf
yes and no. Like, it's something that we definitely stay conscious of and keep an eye on. Because it's one of those that completely hoses one deck.
It does, as a one drop.
But
no one plays it.
The two opposing use cases you have to keep in mind is like the 9 out of 10 games that someone playing Sabo just has a 1-mana 1/2 that doesn't do anything. And that feels just as bad as the one time the FOC guy gets Saboed and just loses the game.
No, the Saboteur actually does something. It has a Awaken, you lose the game.
But it has this weird spot of where, like, if FOC ever becomes good, like, it just can shut it down so quickly.
Yeah, so the goal is to just not let it be good, isn't it?
So
that's what I feel like the goal is.
Yeah. No,
you need to play an orange deck and run Saboteurs to counter artifact deck, which are like what percentage? 5? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely one that we have to keep an eye on. And
stop sabotaging Saboteur.
At the moment, we don't think that FOC's low usage is specifically a side effect of Sabo existing so much as FOC itself having kind of weak deck building choices, which hopefully Samasek helps with. And then if we see FOC be way too good, Sabo helps keep it in check. And if we see that the moment people begin playing it, you just can't play FOC, then that's when we'd have to begin looking at making a change. But at the moment, no planned changes, but it is something we've talked about.
That's one that's on my list because
I'm pretty sure, Ron, you'll never play First of Creation again. You turn into an aggro player. Come on.
What?
I know, like
I play ready for anything,
like Format Maras and stuff like that.
I play ready for anything in every deck I possibly can right now. Like that's not aggro. Yeah. Anyway, but I have definitely changed my play style after this expansion, and I feel like I have to. So we have some spoiler for the new expansion coming your way. Some art, I believe. What do we got?
I hope it's a Noah Mythic. It's on screen. Huh?
This is Slant Stone.
Slant Stone. What do you think?
I can't give away too much about it yet. I'll give you a little bit in a minute once we've talked about it. But just looking at it, what do you guys think?
Purple enchantment.
Or green. It looks like a spirit, right? Spirit enchantment, maybe.
Maybe it's a purple green enchantment.
Could be. Kind of got the spiritish feel, right? With the gravestone, necro kind of.
It's a 5-cost enchantment that says at the start of your turn summon a 2/2 zombie spirit.
I think it says at the beginning of your turn, if this lane is unoccupied, put a necro in that lane. Just for you, Tempest.
So I'll say this much about it. This is one of those things that could find a home in kind of vanilla pile on the good effects FoC list.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's exciting. Very exciting.
And it might also maybe do some mill things.
Ooh, so this does feel like it's in that purple category then.
That's all I'll say. Except at one point, the sketch that we had didn't actually slant the stone. It was just standing up, which, like, one, obviously mismatched the name, but two, made it look like someone had, like, this stone base, and then they just kind of jammed a Wiimote in it. It was the funniest looking thing.
Oh, that's great. Now I'm excited. And the art looks beautiful. The art it continues to impress and draw, I think, me into this game, and this art does that as well. So I'm excited to learn more about this card over the next couple months. So speaking expansion, do we have any idea of when the expansion might be?
Well, I do. You don't, but I do. It'll be so. This patch is designed to be the mid-season patch. So I think you could safely look at the fact that we launched the last expansion 2 months ago on Wednesday, and safely estimate about 2 months to go. Let's see. Yeah.
So that puts us like,
a couple months. QMO testing will begin, if not the day of this upcoming patch, in this patch cycle.
Okay.
So we can safely assume it's going to be between 1 and 11 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can safely assume between 1 and 11 weeks. How's that?
So January, February, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's exciting.
To spill the beans. All the beans are spilled.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Can we stop calling that mid-season balance patch, by the way?
So that's actually something that I'll talk a little bit about. We have an announcement coming on this, so I don't want to give away too much. But mid-season is definitely not what we'll be calling them moving on, because they won't be happening in the middle of the season. They'll still be happening at about the same cadence, but we'll be moving to ending seasons with a patch of this size.
What's it going to be called if not mid-season? It's like a super season patch.
Post.
I guess like end of season, post season. I don't know. It's just not going to be happening to signal the middle of the season.
I think
so much as the ending of one season and the beginning of the next.
Seems logical.
So we're kind of moving into a cycle, which is kind of, I think it feels right to me. Like, expansion will have 2 seasons, and then post season 1, we'll see a big patch, and then post season 2 we'll see expansion. Is that kind of what we can assume going forward with that?
I would say that's a safe assumption.
Okay.
That you can typically expect one season to end with a big balance patch and the following to end with a set.
Do we have an idea of when this season will end? Can you give us?
Yes. So this is actually kind of a odd side effect of the tech side of this job, is that we know the season end date. The season end, and I'll go ahead and spoil this now.
Whoa,
I might even
big spoiler.
Yeah, this might get me scolded. We'll see. But the season is slated to end next Monday. That said, that was specifically with the patch coming today. So, with the patch not coming today, I don't know if we'll be moving the season date to 1 week following the launch of the patch. The issue is, if you go look in the client, it just says ending TBD, TBA.
Oh, there's Leo right there.
Leo. Yeah, Leo. So
he's saying you spoiled too much.
we actually don't have the ability to update that line of text in the client without a patch. And we did not want to end the season with the patch and have the patch, the season date just not listed in the client at all. That feels awful to the people who don't stay connected with the game outside of playing the game. That's the kind of thing that the expectation should be. You can see that in game, and we've told you ahead of time. So with this patch, we'll be looking to end the season in about a week-ish. If that still is specifically next Monday, I don't know, just because the patch is getting pushed back a little bit.
That makes sense. Hopefully that's something that can get altered at some point, because it would be nice,
I think even if we can't specifically make it so that the patch date can be added in, the season end date, excuse me, we'll have solid dates, ideally at the time of the new season beginning, but that may not be possible just due to tech issues. Like if we announce a season end date, say we begin this next season next Monday, and we announce an end date of I don't know, June 15th.
Okay, yeah.
And so then we've technically announced it months and months ahead of time. But if that week comes to pass and we submit a build that doesn't get okayed by all the places we need to push it live, then the season's not going to be able to end on that date. So it's kind of a side effect of a tech issue that hopefully we can find a good solution to.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, there's got to be something you can do, but I'm excited to see that. While we're talking about things coming up, I want to push the fact that there is a tournament coming up this Saturday, and this is a KG Mythgard hub.
It's a tournament. Who's gonna cast it?
Mythgard sponsored tournament for cash, Clash in the Deep, and it is Saturday. Hopefully, we will get the patch before then, and these changes will be live. Those are things that we're hoping, especially as casters, me and Tempest. As casters, we want the most crazy things to happen while we're casting the games, and so
we're casting. Oh, cool.
That's
it is you guys.
So we love it to
guess
happen.
I'm not watching.
But
yes, you are.
we have asked for some potential tournament changes. Can you let us know if there are any tournament changes coming in this patch?
Yeah, we can talk about that. So the top one that I know is absolutely in this patch is that top cuts will not be calculating again when people leave. So like that was an issue last time, was the top cut changed, and that's not going to be happening.
Just to clarify that meant like if people dropped out during the tournament, the number of people that were in the top cut changed, and so we had that last time. So the top cut was supposed to be 8, Tempest might not be able to follow this conversation very well. This is outside of his capacity.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about day 2ing.
But the last round, people dropped out because people why participate in the last round if you have no ability to do anything.
No respect, no respect.
And and so we got top cut down to 4, and that felt bad.
Yes, it did.
And so I'm glad to see that change coming in here. That's a big change that will help the players for that very reason. So,
and I don't know if this is going to be in this patch. It might be in the next. I'm not positive, but we do also have expanded slots in events. We'll be expanding out to 128. So that should help with. I know that it was a little bit of an issue last time that a lot of people signed up and then didn't show.
Yeah.
So we've expanded to 128 as a way to help with that. We obviously don't want to immediately jump it up to 9001 just because who knows what would happen.
Right.
It takes some bug testing and some safety netting, and
I think it's always good to have it over 9000.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, no, I've been out of tea for a while. I'm just pretending. So it's out there now.
That's why I went with this cup. I can't fake it.
Yeah. I mean that's a mistake though. What if you drink it all? You'll drink it, and the chat will think look at this guy, he's crazy. He's drinking an empty Meg. But no, when I'm drinking,
you're crazy.
Just chew the tea bag and watch chat go nuts.
You being crazy is nothing new. So let's be clear here. We've all known this for the last 8 months of our lives.
I'm not crazy, right? Tempest too. Yeah, he agrees.
Tempest agrees. Yes, that's right.
Tempest too.
But yeah, there's some sort of question in chat that's going on there.
Yeah, playing games and events counting to quest and daily pools. That's a good question, and it's one that I will make note of and we'll discuss. I obviously can't give any indication yet as to how that may pan out, but I do think that would be a good QOL change. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It is something we've all felt that they don't give coins for the wins is a weird thing, but at the same point, it's a small change that might take more time than it's worth. So I get that too. Tempest, is there any other questions you want to ask the mage?
Oh, yeah.
All the mages here.
No, I'm kind of curious. When you were born, why did you decide to put all your points in wisdom if you were gonna be a mage? That's obviously a bad decision. If you're a druid, then it's fine, but you're not a druid, so I just don't know.
The checklist had 2 options. It was 1, wisdom, 2, luscious locks. And Ejecti had the second column locked down, so I had to just take wisdom and be happy with it.
No.
What are your traits, Tempest?
What?
What are your traits? What did you buff up for? Alcohol and smoking? Those are what we got. What else we got?
T and T.
I didn't buff lethal, that's for sure.
Never miss lethal. Never. Yeah. We had a good 20-minute conversation before this that we didn't stop laughing, and so we could easily get back on that.
I don't think that conversation was a perfect grade 13 though.
No, that one. We found out some stuff about some people.
Anything else, Tempest, you have that you want? While Noah is present, that you want to convey to the rhinos or talk about today?
About the card buffs or
whatever.
Yeah, anything.
Well, let's go with Shinobi of Chains. I'm kind of curious why would this seems like a must include in every purple. Reducing the ability to 1 cost, and it's kind of going to be super annoying. It's almost like Bella, but not quite.
Yeah. So Shinobi of Chains was. It's had a lot of places it's been, and that isn't something that's immediately obvious to people who didn't do expansion 1 Q mode testing. Shinobi of Chains came out and it wasn't doing like anything the initial week. It got buffed and was way too good. So good, in fact, that we actually just kind of soft banned Shinobi of Chains. All the people in queue mode went, yeah, this is too good. Nobody play Shinobi of Chains. Don't be that guy. And
I wish we can do that the same thing with Red Orange. Just
so,
don't be that guy.
so Shinobi of Chains then got changed, and we thought with the limited queue mode testing we did with it following its last change that it would be in a good spot. And what's happened since is it's come out and it just hasn't done anything. It's just it's not seeing much play. It sees play in limited. Some of that's a side effect of it just being a good pickup in the best faction. But Shinobi of Chains at the moment just isn't doing anything. And I think that's kind of a theme of this whole patch is like we could ask, well, why would we buff such and such about most of these changes? And like I'll just pull up the list and check OG Waza, why buff OG Waza? Dune Cat, why buff Dune Cat? Pit Fiend, why buff Pit Fiend? And it comes down to the same idea is that why not buff these things? They haven't done anything. Let's move them a little bit and see what happens. We can scale it back if it's too good. But at the moment, continuing to leave so many things, not even that we want like the whole pool of availability to be playable. Like Days Undoing makes a point that I feel a lot of people also believe, myself included, that you can only have so many playable things. You can only have so many good effects. And the idea is not to make all of the things good. It's to make all of the things something you can at least have a decision point about in deck building. At the moment, Dune Cat, you look at Dune Cat and it's just not a choice. It's not something you even think about. But a 2/2 Dune Cat as opposed to a 2/1 something else, maybe. So I think Shinobi of Chains falls into that same philosophy that Shinobi of Chains specifically is upsetting when it's too good, and so we'll have to keep an eye on it because it's the type of effects that don't let you play the game tend to piss people off.
Yeah.
Like okay, we'll see though. I think it will be a bit annoying. But like I guess the biggest issue, which I don't know how I forgot, I'm guessing you generally focused as nerfs are concerned and card changes. You kind of wanted to tone down red, orange, and that's like the first part. It kind of doesn't seem a bit toned down, especially with the bold. That seems almost like an auto include. But like my second worry about the patch is generally I feel like the patch is going to help a lot of aggro decks. So I'm not sure if that was intended or to make the game faster or like what's up with it.
A little bit. The goal is not to make it like the only choice, but we actually see game times and game lengths, like how many play decisions get made in each game, being a bit high at the moment. That like most games at the moment seem to be going to between the 9 to 11 to 12 mana points, if you will. Just so it's a little bit of that, but it's also kind of funny. We saw a lot of the duality of these changes with the discussion about the patch, in that like at the same time we say, yeah, all this stuff was buffed, we also have people going, wow, I just flat can't play this now because Samusek changed, because X change. So it was a somewhat focused attempt at doing that, but it was not like the sole intent of the patch.
And Tempest, I'm not as worried as you are. Like every meta change favors aggro at first, right? I mean, control needs to know what it's controlling, right?
Yeah, I mean it's obviously you can always take that point and it's okay. like you never really know until you see it. We're just kind of hypothesizing at the moment. But
And I think Aggro is going to dominate on Saturday, assuming the changes happen for that very.
It definitely, I think that's a good, safe assumption, and that's kind of just a side effect of change as a whole. Is that decks that can just efficiently hit face when they'll be playing against a lot of unoptimized lists will seem to be kind of inflated in how good they may actually settle out to be.
And I have a feeling the stats show that aggro lists are doing worse and worse as the meta goes on, and I think that's generally the truth. There might be a couple decks out there that changes, but
I'll ask you that. I'll repeat what you said now. When you lose to on turn 5 to double juiced and volition insta beast.
I mean, I would have liked to see the volition change, and I think a lot of us would have.
I would have too.
Volition change, like.
Noah, can we? I don't know. This is probably not really relevant, but like Noah gave me this choice on changing volition, and I really liked it, but it kind of didn't see. I'm not sure if like it's even relevant to talk about it though. But I like
the bus here.
So yeah, Volition's definitely one that we'll continue watching. We obviously wanted to make a change to it. Like you guys saw the change we had in mind, and that definitely didn't hit the spot it needed to hit, and it would have been way too good. So we chose not to ship it. What was that?
Not the change you kind of posted, like -2. I was talking about the other thing you showed me, but I'm not sure if you should talk about it. I mean, you can just.
So to loop this back into that,
okay.
Nice. I did have an idea with Volition that at the end of the day, we felt was a little too outside the actual theme and the idea behind Volition. It was a little too much of a gameplay shift in its use case. So finding an elegant solution to Volition is, like, in my opinion, the top thing we need to keep in mind in balanced discussion as a team is Volition is at the top of my list of things that we should be looking at. And that's not to say that it's what we as a team will do, but myself, I would like to see a good, meaningful change to that. But it has to be a change that makes sense and that actually lands how we want it to land, because a bad change to Volition likely leaves it in a place that it's doing things twice as nasty as what it's doing now. You know, like it's.
Yeah, and we've seen bad changes to Volition. Like Volition's been a card that's been targeted multiple times, right? And it hasn't done exactly what I think anybody wanted or expected at each of the
absolutely.
times. I think that's, it's a very hard card. In general, all the cards that give extra actions are hard to get right. I mean,
I tend to think of them like a lot like. What was that, Tempest?
Make it like an extra life.
Yeah, I tend to think of them, effects like Volition, kind of like in the same way that I think about attack buffing spells. And the fact that we don't have instant speed play. In a game with instant speed play, if I play a +2/+2 buff on my 1/1 minion, and my opponent has a 1 mana fast spell that deals 1 damage, they can blank my buff spell. Right. And as much as that feels bad as a side effect of instant speed play, the flip side of that in a game without instant speed play is I've got these buff spells, I can just unload them and you just have to take it. You don't. So it's something that we have to find the good balance point on. And I think specifically giving actions is one that is going to be difficult to do in a way that makes it still feel healthy on both sides of the exchange.
Yeah.
But it is a fun design space to play in, so it's not something we want to completely give up on.
It is a fun design space, and I'm glad that it was entered in. And I think, we've seen the Rhinos trying to figure out what to do with it right since the very beginning. We saw like if you played right, I started right when the open beta started, and I remember like Caravan was just completely busted.
Yeah, it was. Oh man.
Tempest is laughing there.
No,
I mean,
Yeah, that
I'm
was.
laughing at chat comments like the idea of how to nerf volition is just delete it.
I mean, yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't want to see that space given up.
Yeah.
I think, it's getting there, and I think that's one of the spaces that's still really hard. And in general, spells are really hard in this game. When you have something like enchantment or artifacts,
Yes.
it's permanent buffs for long term, and you have, spells that last for much shorter. But we're seeing, persist maybe changed it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good way that we've looked to fix a little bit of that gap without just massively buffing the spells.
Exactly, because you don't want to over buff spells as we
Yeah,
see.
because again, you can't do anything when I play a spell. So we can't just load spells up with tons and tons of effects. And I think that's why you see a lot of modal spells too, things like pillage that have 2 use cases. That's again a good way to add some usability into spells in a way that you couldn't do with enchantments.
Yeah, which I'm thankful for. Yeah, so we're going on an hour here, so I want to give Noah a chance. If there's anything else you want to share, anything else you want to say, if not, we'll call it a wrap here. We'll love to have you back on. I know Tempest has 75,000 other changes that he would love to talk about. But we don't have time for that tonight.
No, I don't have. It's only 74,000. Come on.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to say to the community? Any parting words that you have for us today?
None that come to mind, except thank you to you two and to Ejecti having me on today. It's been a lot of fun.
It's great, and I'm thankful that we were able to pull this together and fill this gap on this patch day that didn't happen yet. And so we weren't quite sure if we were going to make it happen because I know patch days are crazy for all the rhinos. And so I'm glad we were able to do that. I'm glad that we were able to have you on, and I'm glad Tempest was able to see your face so that he was able to not get too angry today. That's what
I've never been so calm in my life, dude.
Yeah, we saved him a whole bottle of tea.
Yep. Anyway, please do, if you have some time on Saturday, the registrations for Clash in the Deep are becoming up either post patch or if we have to push the patch, it'll probably be up in the next day or two. We were waiting to post the tournament until after the patch in case there were any issues with the patch, with the changing of the tournament structure. So that is why it's not in game at the moment, but please keep it on your calendars for this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know whatever time that is in Croatia, but it should be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that we should see some crazy decks if the changes happen, or if not, hoping people just bring things that they want to play. And so I'm looking forward to spending 6 hours of my day with Tempest, and we'll do our best to talk about.
I kind of feel like the thing you said, you're kind of promoting, telling people to play Beacon Banner.
I would love to see Beacon Banner. I might actually give a pack code to somebody who
I'll give 20 packs to anybody who day twos with a Beacon deck.
If anybody makes top cut with Beacon Banner, I will throw in a pack code.
Yeah, I'll give 20 packs to anyone who tops with Beacon.
Yeah, so there we go. We got some incentivizing right here for the Beacon. And Tempest will throw in a pack code if anybody can do Profane Locust, because Profane Locust was Tempest's top card of the expansion that he thought was going to be amazing. So I'm going to put Tempest's packs on the line if anybody can make Profane Locust into the top cut. So let's make it happen.
Profane Locust, Mithril Coach, sure.
Yep, exactly. Just throw it in there. Just throw it in the unrelated deck that you think is going to get banned days, and you can go for it. Anyway, thanks, Noah, for all you do. Thanks for everything you do with Hub. Thanks for everything you do with the Rhinos. Thanks for your devotion to this game and all you bring to the community. It's great to have your presence around and someone who we can always reach out to and see in chat. And so I hope you are loving your job as much as you were, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for both you and for Mythgard. So,
Arun, we haven't really thought this through. Like, what if top 8, like 8 players out of the top 8 cuts all have like Beacon Banner and Profane Locus.
You know what?
What we call heaven.
I will be cashing in all my things for packs for those people. I'm all in. So if that happens, I will find a way to give them all packs. So, yep. Anyway, it's great to hang out with you both today. Y'all have a good day, and we'll be talking and seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.